Hi, sweetie. You okay? It's flipping cold up here today. What's it like by the seaside? Hi, Natasha. Ooh, you-hoo. You-hoo yourself. You alright, Maria? Hi, Christine. Nice to see you. I presume then you can all hear me okay. And the picture's okay. Just keep my fingers crossed that it stays that way. I'll just give it a couple of seconds, see if anybody else joins us, and then I'll get stuck in. Hi, Tina. Warm-ish. Yeah, right. It's cold. It's January, it's cold. Hi, Wendy. Oh, it's nice to see so many people here. Brilliant. Thank you, Heidi. Hi, Sarah. Nice to see you. Right, I think we'll get stuck in and make a start. Okay, so as you saw from the event banner that I put up the other day, this is the card I'm making today. I always think blokes get a rough deal when it comes to card making. It's one of those, you either do mail cards all the time, hi Claire, hi Anne, or you don't do them at all and you do them when you have to, or so I thought for a change we'd go with a mail card today and just give them a bit of a shout out so they don't feel left out. So this is the card I'm making today. Now the background is done using what Miriam calls a masterboard technique, and it's a fabulous technique which she showed here in the group quite some time ago. Hi Caroline. And there will be a link in the comments for Miriam's original video about masterboards and how to do them. I think I went a little bit overboard with mine, and I've actually used quite a bit of colour in mine. It's a little bit lighter than I'd anticipated, if I'm honest, but I think the overall effect is good. This was an A4 sheet of white card. I think I actually used Lisa's Super Smooth 250 GSM card, which is a really good quality card if you're die cutting. And once you've done this masterboard technique on the back, it gives it an extra little bit of stability, if you like, as well. So thanks Heidi for the link. So what I did with this was I started off with acrylic paints, and I used several different colours. I've used greens, yellows, blues, purples, and I just used a brayer and just walked the ink all over the card. And when I say walked the brayer, basically it's just a case of walking it across the card in sort of jumpy movements, so that you're not actually doing a complete run of acrylic paint, but you're just dotting acrylic paint all over the back of the card, the base of the card. And then I've used some stamps over the top and some stencils. So if I just quickly run you through the stencils and the stamps that I used in the background, you can see I've used the crackle stamp, which is a fabulous stamp to use. Unfortunately, I don't think this is coming back. It's not available at the moment on the website, and I have a feeling it probably won't come back. So if you manage to get it, well done. So I'm sorry for using that if nobody else can get it, but it is a great stamp to use. I've also used my very favourite splat stamp off the Textures background collection stamp set, and again I think there's a handful of these in stock at the moment, so if you haven't got one and you want one, be quick. They may come back at some point in the future, but that will depend on whether there is enough call for it, possibly. So, you know, if I know the whole of the design team use this stamp an awful lot, so if you want one, I'd shout, because the more people that shout, the more chance there is of it coming back. So there is a handful at the moment if you want to put an order in for that. And then I used a couple of stencils, and I've used the checked A5 stencil, which is such a versatile stencil. You can use this in so many different ways, and I haven't used it all. I've only used bits of it. So you can see here there's a bit in the background in green, and again here in green. So I've used that a little bit. And then I used the Creative Words stencil, and again only in different places. I've only used a few of the words. You can see they're quite a nice size word to use. I'll just put that on the back of that and you can see that any better. They are quite a nice size, and if you're using your brushes, particularly the smaller brush, that will just brush through there beautifully. I'm not sure whether there's any ink on this brush, to be honest, because I usually clean them, but yeah, only a little bit. But you can see they do stencil beautifully. So with the right amount of ink on, they will give a beautiful finish. And I used a brown ink on that, just dotted across the sheet of card in different places. So that was the Creative Words stencil. And then I used some stamps, and I used the In the Loop stamp set, which unfortunately is now definitely discontinued. But I've used these little stamps here. I think the main stamps are fantastic, and the little stamps do tend to get overlooked quite a bit, which is a shame, because they are really useful for just adding a little bit of interest to your cards or whatever it is you're making. So I use these two here, these two little textures, which you can see here and here. There are one or two, and there's some on the card that I'm using, the piece of card that I'm using today. And then I used this little, what I class as sort of like a tea stain or a coffee stain, you know, when you've put something down on a tablecloth or something. And I've used that in different places as well. So the masterboard is just basically let your imagination run wild, use whatever colours you want, whatever stamps you want, and just fill a piece of card, and then you can use that card to cut up, die cut with, use as a background, all sorts of different things. And I'm really quite pleased with this. I've not done this for some time, probably since Miriam showed us, to be fair, but I do think it's quite a good idea to have a go at if you've not tried it before. So yeah, so that was that bit. And then for my background piece here, I've used the Torn Edge Slims dies, and again there's only probably a few left in stock of these, and I'm not actually sure whether they will be back. Again, it might depend on how interested people are in getting them back. So if you want one, shout out. When you go onto the website, if there is an item on there that's sold out, there will be a little banner that says email me when available. I would urge you to use that little banner, click on that and add your email address, because the more people that use it, the more chance there is of these things coming back. So, you know, if you want it, then I'm not saying it's going to guarantee it coming back, but it'll certainly help make a decision one way or the other. So that's the Torn Edge Slims, a fantastic little die set, yes. And then I'm using one of the new embossing folders, the Deckplate, because as soon as I saw this, I just thought, oh, thanks, Lisa. Torn Edge Slims will be back, but not, I don't know when. Oh yeah, end of March. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong piece on my piece of paper. Apologise, Lisa. So yeah, I'm using the Deckplate embossing folder, because as soon as I saw this, I just thought mail cards, industrial. It screams men to me, this embossing folder. So I've used that on the background here. Now obviously this is a 6x6 folder, and this piece of card here is bigger than that. So I know a lot of you will know how to do that in your embossing folders with your card, but I'm going to show you today, just for the people that have not worked that out yet. So how easy it is to just extend that piece of paper. And then I'm using the nested triangles, and that's for these little pieces here. I was toying with the idea of adding 4 on today's card, so sort of 2 here and 2 here. But to be fair, I've decided that it looked too much. I think more simple is better when you're looking at mail cards. I don't think they like fussy, do they? So that's why I've stuck with just the 2. And then of course the large stitched alphabet dies, and again you can see what a beautiful size these are. Again, these are totally out of stock at the moment, but will be back at the end of March. So again, go on the website, click on the email me when available, so that you know as soon as they come back in stock and they're all back on the shelf, you'll be able to put your order in. Brilliant set of dies, so versatile. You will use them time and time and time again, trust me. So that's another set. Now, I don't know whether any of you saw my photograph that I put in the Crafting with Lisa Horton group of my birthday gift from my very nice friend Maria, and she's used the stitched alphabet dies, and she's also used 3 of Lisa's 3D embossing folders, the pretty leaves, the padded quilt and the weave, and I just think, and then she's used the Daisy Burst edger dies and stamp set, and I just think, wow, I was absolutely blown away. This is on my craft room wall, and I look at it every day, so I love it. Thank you, Maria. What a fabulous thing to do with something, using something so simple to make something so beautiful. I think is just out of this world. It just shows the versatility of these dies. So let's get stuck in. First thing I'm going to show you is how to extend the embossing on your piece of card. So obviously this is the centre from the torn edge slim dies, and I'm going to put this in my embossing folder, making sure that it's the right way up. So the embossed side is going to come up through your card, so you want to put your card blank side down onto that embossing folder, so that the embossing comes up. And this piece here, the deboss side, is where the embossed piece will push into. So I'm just going to put that there in that folder and leave it sticking out at the end. Now if you put it through like this, you'll get a line down here. So what you need to do is put your folder onto your plate and hang it over the edge, so that you're not getting a hard line down here. Okay, then put your embossing plates or whatever over the top for your particular machine. I know you can't see me running this through the machine, but we all know how to do that bit, don't we? Okay, so you can see that that is beautifully embossed, and it's only gone so far, and there's no harsh line down here. Okay, so what you now need to do is reposition this so that you're doing this end of the card. And because the embossing is so deep on these, you will find that at some point your piece of card that you've already embossed will sit inside your folder, and it will latch onto the part of the embossing folder that this relates to. So I'm trying to move that now, it won't move because it's actually located in the embossing on the folder. So I'm going to shut that over, and again hang it over the side so that you don't get a harsh line. Put your embossing plates back on, and then run it back through your machine so that you're doing the other end of the piece of card. take it out of your card, and there you go. You've got the complete deck plate with no harsh line down the middle here where you've joined it. Nobody would know that it's not an embossing plate that would fit that piece of card into. So it works. The only time it won't work totally is when you've got a non-repeating pattern. So possibly some of the flowers might not. You might get a faint line. But if you hang it over the edge like this, your line won't be as obvious. So that would be the tip I would give. And I had to ask when I first tried it because I kept getting the line, and the lovely Anne, one of our DT, taught me through it. So I thought I'd just pass on that little bit of info so that you've all got it too. Excuse me. Okay, so I've done my little bit of deck plate, and this is my background that I cut out with the torn edge dies. Now, when I first put this together, I was just going to leave this brown so that it would go on the card, and then my deck plate would sit on there, and that would stay brown. But you can see on here, I decided not to leave it brown. I wanted it to look a little bit more industrial, if you understand what I'm trying to say. This looks great, but I think this looks better because it's got a little bit more work done on it as opposed to just leaving it like that. So I'm going to be using the Stamperia Wax. This is the ancient wax. It's fantastic stuff. You don't need very much at all, and I take it out of the jar, and all I'm doing really is I'm just putting it on a piece of acetate and just smoothing it out so that I've got quite a bit, and I'm using both the gold and the turquoise because I wanted both colours on this project. So again, just smooth it out on there. And I'm using a piece of acetate because this, particularly the turquoise, does tend to mark your blending sheets if you use it on a blending sheet. So if you want to keep those looking reasonably clean, then I'd just use a piece of scrap acetate or something. So on here, what I did first was I used a bit of the green, and I just smoothed this out with the sponge, and then take quite a bit of it off. And then basically, because this is so beautifully embossed, you can rub over this and it will only catch the actual rivets on the embossing folder. But I did the green, and then I thought, I like the green, but it just didn't, I don't know, it was missing something for me really. So I did the green first, which I quite liked, and then flip my sponge over. And I would say use a sponge, particularly if you're using the turquoise, because it will stain your hands as well. It does take quite a while to get off, so either use a pair of gloves or use a sponge. And then just rub over the green. You don't have to cover the green if you don't want to. If you want to leave some of them green and some of them gold, then that's fine. It's entirely up to you. It's a personal thing, isn't it, at the end of the day? I don't want that big glob there. So I think I'm happy with that, how it is. But you see the difference, just adding that little bit of wax, what that does for it. I'll clean that up in a bit, because it will harden off and it'll go dry. So, and then, as I say, I decided that I didn't want to leave this just totally brown, so again I used the wax and just went round the edge. Now when I did the one that I did as a sample, I think I went a bit OTT, and I sort of, you can see I did the whole of the edge of the slim, and I'm not sure whether that was perhaps just a little bit too much. So on this one I'm literally just going round the edge. Well, that's fine, Heidi, you can use your finger, but I tend not to, because A, it stains your fingers, and B, because you've got natural oils on your hands, it can interfere with the wax. So I just use the sponge to avoid that, and that's why I put it out on my little piece of acetate here, just so that it's got no contamination from any oils on your fingers, really. Somebody taught me that ages ago, I can't remember who it was now. She might be here this afternoon. And then just go around the edge, just to give it a little bit of interest, really. I think I'm happier with that, just being, yeah, I think that's better. So just to give this a little bit of an edge as well, which was something that I didn't do yesterday. See, I've got it all over my hands now, I didn't want to do that. I'm just going to go around the edge with a brown Copic marker. I know people say Copics, great pens, love the brush end, but this wedge end, what do you use it for? I suppose you could use it for larger areas colouring, but I can count the number of times I've used that end, probably on one hand. So I thought, when you're doing this sort of thing, they're ideal because they've got a little bit of space that you can sort of line it up on the edge of your card. You could use a Sharpie marker as well if you wanted, but it takes ages to get out from behind your nails, Heidi. That's why you wear dark nail polish, so nobody can see it. So yeah, I'll just go around the edge, and really it's not to sort of colour the card, it's just to give it a little bit of an edge to help it stand out from the background, which of course it would do more had I have been doing a whole gold edge. That edge just sort of stands out a little bit better if you've gone around the edge when you've got a complete gold, but because I've left some of it brown today, it's not quite as necessary. So those will go there. So let's get a gluing. Lisa will be back on our telly boxes next Sunday, unusual day for Lisa, 7th of Feb, and I think it's 3 o'clock and 3:45 in the afternoon, so one show follows the other, and wow, there are some fabulous things on that show. You'll start seeing little sneaky peeks from all the design team from today onwards. I'm sure you've probably seen some of them already, but they are fabulous products. So now I'm just going to stick my little bit of Deckplate down and make sure that you use plenty of glue, because obviously some of it is going to sink into these little debossed pieces, so you want to make sure that you've got enough glue between the debossed pieces so that it sticks to your card without moving too far. So that's going down there like so. I do love this torn edge. I just think of all the slims, I think it's the perfect one to use for men. Hi Elizabeth, bet you were asleep in front of the telly, weren't you? Yeah, I think this embossing, this die set is perfect to use for men, because it's not too fussy, it's not too frilly, but it just gives a little bit of interest. And when you're using it with something like the Deckplate embossing folder, I just think it sets it off. I think it's the perfect thing to use. So this is where my nested triangles come in. I just used the two. I've piled everything up here. As soon as I move it, it'll all fall over. So not the very small one, I've used the next two from the middle, and I've just cut 2 pieces off my masterboard and then 2 pieces of brown the same as this. And again, I'm just going to edge these triangles with a little bit of this antique wax, just so that it fits in with the rest of the theme on the card. I just want it all to blend in and match in nicely. I'm not doing it on the brown backing on the letters because I want the brown to just stand out and lift the sort of industrial piece with the words on. I want them to stand proud, so I shan't do it on the back of the letters. Okay, so I'm going to have one piece one end and one piece the other end. Now, because it's quite a simple card, I thought it would be better if we did the letters and stuck them on so that they sort of stood proud on the card. So you can see, I don't know whether you can see that they are sort of stuck on with 3D glue, and I just think it makes, it lifts the card for me, rather than it being flat. And I think you can see the difference there, even if they're just sitting next to one another there. I think you can see that if they're flat, it just loses a little bit of something, whereas if you raise them up, it lifts that card for me. So I'll just put my glue to one side. I'm not tempted to use that instead, and use my 3D glue and just stick these all down. Now, when I did the first card, I just placed all these letters out first, just so that I knew they were more or less in the middle of the card. I was going to use bigger triangles, but to be honest, the next two up would have actually come and touched the letters, and I didn't want that really. I wanted them to sort of sit on their own, so that's why I went with this size. I did cut the bigger triangles, but obviously I can use those on a different project at some point in the future. I've been really naughty and I haven't really been paying a great deal of attention to your comments, so I do apologise if I've missed any questions. Is the technique used on the metal? Okay, Mary. If you get stuck or you've got any questions, then just drop me a message in the group and I'll go through it with you if you want. It's so easy. Do you mean the extending it so that you're using the little 6x6 folder on a bigger piece of card, or do you mean the actual wax and stuff that I've used on the card? Just let me know which aspect. You don't need a great deal of this 3D glue because it is quite good, and you can space these out as much or as little as you like. I actually wanted the word to sit so that it was in the middle of those 2 triangles there. I know everybody's got their favourites in sort of glues and things. Nice, aren't they? Yeah, they would. I just try to do things that aren't too fussy if I'm looking at men's cards, because I think if you try and get sort of a bit inventive, like you can with sort of cards for ladies, I think ladies appreciate it, and I'm not saying men don't appreciate stuff, because a lot of them do, especially if they're involved in the craft world. But my opinion, and it is only my opinion, I just think less is more when you're looking at men's cards. Oh right, so easy, Mary. And yeah, you can watch it back on YouTube later, so if you've got any questions after you've watched it, then just let me know and I'll go through it again with you. it's so easy because of the deepness of the embossing folders. So I think that was quite simple today, and I think I actually prefer this card to the one I did yesterday. I think the gold was just a little bit too much on there, whereas on this one it's just giving it a highlight rather than overtaking. And I think this one, I think the gold detracts from the rest of it. Boy, smell. Maria, that's naughty. So yeah, there's my my mail card. I mean, if you wanted to be really precise, you could measure where you put in these triangles, but to be honest, I don't think there's any need to. I have to own up and say I did measure these, but I haven't measured these. So yeah, there you go. Quite a simple card, just a few techniques, different ways to use things, and a way to extend the embossing folder to the size of the card that you need. It will work in any size card really. You've just got to find the right place of your embossing folder where you've sort of gone to. But it's only practice, and it doesn't take long to work it out either, because if I can do it, anybody can do it, trust me. So there you go, that's my mail card for today. As I said, Lisa's back on your screens next Sunday the 7th, 3 o'clock and 3:45, with some fantastic new products. There's also some tools and bits and pieces as well, so you won't want to miss those. There might actually be some fabulous embossing powders, but I didn't say that. No embossing powders. So this will be up on YouTube this afternoon. I hope that you subscribe if you've not subscribed already. There are lots of videos on there from people, all of the design team. There's only, I think, 4 of us that do lives at the moment. There are more of us, but circumstances don't allow at the moment. But there are a lot of videos on there, a lot of inspiration for you. So if you're stuck, your mojo's gone walkabout, and you want a little bit of help, then have a look at our YouTube channel. It's a fantastic place to get a little bit of inspiration from. So I love you and leave you. Thank you very much for joining me today. Claire will be back on Tuesday, and Heidi will be back on Wednesday. I'll be back next Friday. Don't think I've missed anybody. Not sure whether Lisa's doing sneaky peeks. I'll let you know later in the week, and look forward to next week's shows as well. So yeah, I love you and leave you. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again next week. Bye for now.